we have a great guest this week.
We have Claudia Oshry, girl with no job.
Who actually, truthfully, once you read the book, is like girl with a really big fucking job. She is so busy. She's a comedian.
She's the Crazy Beautiful Life and Instagram thirst sponsor.
She is. And she is an author. Mm-hmm. She is a singer. She is
New York Times bestselling author.
Yeah, New York Times bestselling author.
Comedian.
That's right.
She's been on tour and she's only 26. So don't ask me how she did all this, but you guys are going to know how right now.
Hi, ladies.
The one and only.
Hello.
The one and only.
Best-selling author.
Yes.
Hey, gorgeous ladies.
Hi, gorgeous Claudia. Oh, my God. We're so excited that you are on today because now you are a New York Times best-selling author.
Woo!
No, I know. I cannot believe it either. And I'm so excited. I feel like I haven't been on your podcast in a million years.
I know. I mean, girls, no job.
Yes.
Right? I mean, how excited are we? The Crazy Beautiful Life and Instagram thirst monster. We have Girl No Job, Claudia Oshry back because now she's even more famous because she's a New York Times bestselling author. I mean, come on. At your age, I mean, obviously you're only, how old are you, 26?
Yes, you're aging me, Margaret. I'm 26.
At 26. I mean, a year over 25, you're a New York Times bestselling author. You're super famous. I mean, you're married.
I paid her to say that.
No. You're married. You have all these things. You wrote a book during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's next. You might be president. I don't know.
I mean, would that be so bad? Diet Coke for everyone.
Diet Coke for all. Diet Coke for all. I mean, we love the book. We love it. I have to be honest. We're listening to it. We read some of it and listened to a lot of it on audio because I love to hear you speak.
I mean, it was weird because I talk so fast and I'm so used to podcasting every day, just talking at the speed of light. And it took me a really long time to adjust to talking like this. And it felt very strange. And I've gotten actually a lot of messages from people that they're speeding up the audiobook because they're not used to me talking.
Set it up. That's so funny.
I put it on 1.3. I felt like 1.3 was very manageable and very
appropriate.
Yeah.
I have to record my audiobook this week.
Yes.
And the girls are like, you have to slow it down. They go, listen to Claudia. I go, that doesn't even sound like Claudia. I have to wait. And Lexi sped it up.
I know. It doesn't even sound like Claudia. I'm like, do you have to take a Xanax this week to record?
But it's actually really fun, Margaret. You're going to have a lot of fun. It's just very different I'm used to being in a room or on Zoom, bouncing off of people, talking, cursing, like saying whatever comes to my mind. So to sit down and read my own book out loud was an experience, but it was actually ended up being really fun. And I ended up like falling in love with my book all over again. And I'm actually really excited for you because I think you're going to love it.
Okay, good. That's great. Very good advice.
Was there anything that when you read it back, you were like, shit, did I really write that? Because it sounds different when you read it, right?
Yeah. And like from the time, so I recorded my audiobook, I want to say in November, and I hadn't read my book in full since June when I handed it in like the final draft. So I was, my memory is not the greatest. So reading it again was like reading it for the first time. And I was like, I said that? There's so much like embarrassing stuff in the book. There's funny stuff, but I really got very personal and I had forgotten because like I was in it for like 6 months writing. And then when I finally was done with it, I like kind of forgot. And then when I had to reread it for the audiobook, all these memories came back. I'm like, oh yeah, I did say that. And it felt like I was honestly reading someone else's book because it had been like 4 months. So it was fun. Like, I think you'll enjoy it. It was fun because I'm like, wow, my book is great.
Now, as you were writing it, did you feel it was very therapeutic? It was probably painful. Tell me that experience for you.
When I pitched a book and when I wrote my book proposal, it was funny. Like,
now, did you do that all by yourself?
Yes.
Wow. I want to know how impressive that is because the Marge, who could like birth Claudia, and I'm old enough to be her mother, had help.
Oh, well, my manager did help me a lot, so I can't take credit for the full thing, but the idea itself was like, it was going to be like memoir, self-help, funny. And when you start writing, what you had intended to write that's not always what happens. So I just found myself like when I was going on these chapters, like going into more personal tangents, still funny, but also more vulnerable and earnest. And I didn't stop. I was like, you know what? I think that's good. I have a thought. Let's write it out. Let's talk it out. So it's not at all what I thought the book was going to be. And yes, it was very therapeutic because I talk about a lot of stuff that as a just, every day-to-day gal, I don't really talk about it. I don't talk all the time about, how traumatizing it was when like a month into high school, my dad just like dropped dead.
Yes.
And it's like a fun fact about me, but I don't think about it a lot. So sitting and writing a whole chapter, I had to like go back to those memories, and it was such a dark time. And I was like crying while writing the book. But I actually think I'm glad that it worked out that way, because I think a lot of people related to a few things in the book, especially the one on losing a parent, because unfortunately that's something a lot of people have gone through.
Yes, and I think it was so helpful. What I also find that you and I are similar in that you deal with a lot of tragedy, which Lexi and I were saying, with humor.
Yes, it's the only way to survive.
Yes, and how you said you guys ordered a pizza right away. I'm just using, I don't want to give away a lot of stuff in the book, but
I related to that immediately, because when my father suddenly passed away, my aunt opened the door and broke down into tears and said, "I'm so sorry your father's passed away. I made you a cup of tea." It's like, there we go.
Queen. Yes, and that's just my way of coping, eating and making jokes. And that's not for everyone. I think maybe some people have dealt with grief in their own way, and they think my way is like crazy. But that's just like, at some point, like when you're dealing with something so earth-shattering, you just do what you got to do to survive. And for me, it was just making jokes about it. And definitely, now as I get older, like I understand that wasn't maybe like the healthiest way, but it was how I coped like as a kid. And I'm grateful that I did, because I feel like I came out on the other side.
No, I agree. And no, they do always say laughter is the best medicine. I don't agree. It's not always the best way, because I think, it makes people feel better. And I think if anything that helps you get through, I think that's the best way. I do want to touch on a sensitive subject, and tell me if this is okay. I had written to you when you had lost the morning breath, the show.
Yes.
And all that stuff. And I love that you addressed that, because at such a young age, to me, that was such a tragedy, because no child is responsible for what their parent does.
I completely agree. And it was a lot. And it was never a question like, will I talk about this in the book? I was so happy to, because it's been 3 years since then, but it still feels very fresh. And it still comes up in conversation all the time, and it still hinders my business. So talking about it was a no-brainer. And I knew how I felt, and I was excited to finally like say my piece and have it be out there in print, irrefutable. If you ever want to know my thoughts, like now it exists in the world.
Yes, and I want everyone to read it. I don't want to, say what it is. And I want everyone to read it, because Claudia says it so perfectly and eloquently. And I think everybody will understand. Listen, my own son gets embarrassed about things I do or upset with things I do, but he's never going to denounce me or not want to be around me. Or I'm his mother till the end of time. Granted, he won't go on the show and have anything to do with me, and block from his fucking social media. But we're super close. Yeah, we spend time together, but no one, and I have all our photos together, but there's no pictures of us publicly together, because I always say, you're not responsible for my behavior.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, for me, it was never a question like how I was going to handle the situation. And I think why I was really excited to write the book is because it's not just about the cancellation. It's, the 23 years before that. Here's how I was raised. Here are my values. I was raised very Jewish, and the core of Jewish values is family, family, family. So I wanted to really paint a picture for people, because someone who's not in my situation maybe not be able to understand why I refuse to come out and speak ill of my mom. People don't get it. They don't get it. And it's like, well, you're not in my situation.
Yeah, it's also your only surviving parent. They're not in your situation. And it's also private.
Yeah. So to me, it's like a no-brainer. But for people who leave comments and tweet at me online, they can't understand it because it's not the situation. So, okay, if it was this person who's commenting, if it was you in this situation, you would handle it how you see fit. I'm going to handle it how I see fit, not going to do it because you sent me a message thinking that I should do it. Like, it's so personal, and it's just a no-brainer for me. Like, and it upsets me. And so I was not really nervous about writing about this, but I was definitely nervous about putting it out there, because I've made my point, and this is my decision, and this is how I'm going to move forward. And people have a hard time accepting that. So I wasn't nervous about putting it out, but I'm nervous about people digesting it, because for some reason, a lot of people seem torn on this issue. And I know some people have stopped listening to my podcast because of it. And that's fine. This is a free country. And if you disagree, live your life, girl, get your life, you do your thing. But I'm not ever going to change who I am or compromise my values and my principles because it's what someone else wants me to do. That's just not the type of person.
It's great. And that you're a young woman and you have your convictions. And I love that. And I think that's what's so impressive. And it's very mature, and it takes people a whole lifetime to be as strong and have their values that you do. So that is amazing.
A whole lifetime in therapy.
Yeah, a whole fucking lifetime in therapy. That's true. No, it's true. And I think that's great. Listen, certain people I think should be canceled.
Of course.
You know, that's a given. And other people, like yourself or whatever, we have to be a society that people are allowed to make a mistake, make amends. You know, everybody doesn't have to be canceled. And it's bizarre. And I don't like what's going on.
Yeah. And in the book, I really dive into cancel culture, just like generally, because like you said, like there are people who have done terrible things, people in Hollywood, in movies and in music.
Yes.
And these like traditional celebrities, these more famous celebrities. And it feels like they, you know, they make tons of money off of, you know, this kind of sadistic culture in Hollywood. And there's like no accountability for it. But on the internet, with people who are much less famous, much less notable, when they say the wrong thing, it's like a death sentence. Whereas like, I can point to, you know, many examples of traditional celebrities who have committed crimes, you know, who have been abusive. Like, I don't know why we as a society have like jumped down people's throat when they, you know, misspeak or when they have something come from their past, where we also just give people who actually commit crimes, like we give them so much leeway. Like there's no sort of cancel culture around that. And that to me doesn't make sense. And the comparison that I use in the book and that I think is really interesting is like Kevin Spacey versus Kevin Hart.
Yes.
Kevin Spacey.
Good one. The double Kevins. Yes.
Is a alleged criminal. Like there have been many people who have spoken out against him. And Kevin Hart was like the biggest news story, you know, had to step away from the Oscars so much, you know.
And he was he's a comedian.
And I don't think those jokes were funny and they were bad, but give people room to grow. Counsel, not cancel.
Yes.
And in Kevin Hart's documentary, it took him a long time to realize like why people were so upset, and he didn't apologize at first. But I think in this documentary, like the journey he showed was how he came to this realization that like when you're a comedian, you're in this headspace. You're like, I can joke about things. Like, you know, comedy is the one corner.
Anything. Exactly.
Yeah. Comedy is the one corner of the earth where you can say crazy things. And so for him, you know, being a very famous person and being a role model to a lot of people, it took him a long time to get out of that headspace and actually learn that he was wrong. So I'm not saying those jokes were okay. They were not okay.
No.
But it's just interesting if we look at the two situations, how they got like equal flack when the crimes, quote unquote, that they committed are very different.
No, I agree. It's like, by the way, I am with you 1,000%. And it's just, I was saying that also, we were talking about Andrew Dice Clay the other day. Oh my God.
I watched an old Dice Clay, like show from the 80s. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Not even the 80s. You know, I've been watching Sex and the City and Entourage, which are both early 2000 shows. And I was just watching an episode of Sex and the City where Samantha, there are these women outside her apartment and they're being so loud, and they're calling them a derogatory word for transgenders, and the whole episode is like actually very transphobic. And I'm like, this was only 15 years ago. Like, it's just proof that we've evolved so much, because something like that episode, or even on Entourage where they use gay slurs in so many of the episodes, that was like 10-15 years ago. That got written, produced, and aired. Like, that was the culture. So we need to allow some time for us to shift. And I don't want to discredit, like, because when I got canceled, like someone drudged up these old tweets of mine. But at the end of the day, like I still said those things.
You were a young girl, but you were a child.
I was 16. I was in high school. I've been on social media since, you know, 8th grade. And in the 9th grade, like I was making jokes that I thought were funny, and they were awful. Like when people like tweet them now, like they send a chill down my spine. Like the fact that I ever had thoughts that, like, I'm really embarrassed about them, and I don't want that to get lost in this conversation.
Yes,
it's like,
of course, I understand.
Like you can evolve. Like, everyone is entitled to a period of growth. And I think a lot of people, you know, it's very common to be like an asshole when you're a teenager and say things you regret, but you move on from your life, you grow, and you forget about it. For me, it's like, I feel like most days I wake up and I'm like confronted by that, because people on social media love to bring it up, and that's their right. But it's very taxing on my mental health to constantly be confronted with like the worst version of myself.
but you have redeemed yourself 10,000 times, and you can't be punished for the same thing as when you're a young child. That's what upsets me so much, because you know what?
Yeah.
How many times are they going to crucify you for the same thing? And I think that's
a
what
lot,
it is.
apparently.
Listen, I get it. I get it all the time. Like I say in my book, I cheated on my husband. I did leave him for the contractor. I could win the Pulitzer Prize. I could find a cure for cancer, but I will always be a cheater. I will be the cheater with the Pulitzer Prize, because people will judge you more for having an
That's
affair.
hilarious.
No, but it's true. People will judge you more for having an affair, whether you drive drunk, sell kids drugs, go to jail, anything what it is, you can recover from. But if you cheated on your husband, that's going to be the first thing.
No, the internet is so great, but it's also so toxic, because we just like can't let things go, and we label people certain things. And I think that, you know, a troll just, you know, calling you a cheater, or for me, it was like calling me racist. Like they think that they're helping. They think that they're, you know, truly warriors of social justice. And at the end of the day, they're really contributing to such a toxic, you know, conversation and way of life. And it's so bad. And I feel like people, when I got canceled in 2018, I was like one of the first big ones. Like it was huge.
I know. I remember. I was physically ill. Yes.
I remember.
It was worldwide news, and I wasn't even like famous. It was crazy how big the story got, when relatively, like, I was a nobody in 2018. Like I had a big Instagram, but like that was really it. I wasn't like a well-known person. So it was crazy that I was getting all this press. Like I had never gotten press before in my life. And now I feel like it's almost losing its value. It's like someone gets famous on a reality show or on a new TV show, and, you know, someone finds a tweet, and, you know, from 10 years ago about, you know, a terrible joke that they made. It's becoming so routine that it's losing its value. It's not becoming huge news stories anymore, because everyone's like, oh, you know, another set of tweets. It's like not even powerful anymore, which is good, because I think it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible culture.
No, it is. And it is. And I hope, you know, people are more forgiving, and we're in a kinder, gentler place. I mean, we came through a fucking pandemic, people. I mean,
right. Like if we haven't learned anything in the last year, like we just need to be kind to one another and more understanding. And you know what? And this is a major theme in the book. It's like, I feel like before I got canceled, I was one of those people, you know, I was like a troll almost. And even though it was like the worst year of my life, I'm actually grateful in a lot of ways that I had this big learning experience, because I came out on the other side like so empathetic and so understanding, and I was just so much more kind to people, and that was a huge benefit. And I don't know if I would have ended up growing in that way if I didn't experience, you know, this major public tear down.
Yeah, sometimes horrible things can really turn into good things, which
and you have to look at life that way, or else you'll be miserable. Like you just have to turn adversity into, you got to find the silver lining. It's a better way to go through life.
I know. That's why I love your book so much. It's funny. It's positive. I mean, listen, you've been with Ben since you're 18 years old.
Yep.
I know, which, you know, we say
crazy.
He's he's the only guy you slept with. I don't know if you want to leave that on here. You want to leave
That's
that
okay. Yeah,
I don't want to give away
book.
too many spoilers, because
I'm an open book.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes. Literally. Which I love. That's adorable.
Thank you.
Right?
I mean, it didn't, you know, wasn't the point. I mean,
no,
I know,
but yeah, you got married very young when you were 23.
Yeah. Ben was the first guy I met and had sex with, and we just like ended up getting married. So when I tell people that, especially in this day and age, they're like, you've only had sex with one person? And they think I'm like a freak. And I guess I am, but it just happened that way. And I'm actually
you're a little bit of a unicorn. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. But I love that. Like, it's so special. And I love Ben so much. And I love that, like, that's our thing. And I'm very pleased with it.
Yes, I think it's great. I think it's fabulous. And I love that you went on the Steve Harvey show.
Yes.
Yes. And that he went and you were like single.
Yeah.
Right?
It was my first time on TV, and it was like a dating segment. And the producers were like, you're single, right? And I wanted to be on TV so fucking bad. So I said, yeah. And I told Ben, and I thought he was going to be so mad. And he was definitely like weirded out, but he didn't get mad, and he didn't tell me not to do it. And he came with me, and he was very supportive. And that's when I knew, I'm like, this man knows how thirsty I am. He respects
he knows that.
And I love him.
That shouldn't.
But like it should. Yep. And you know what? That's why he's the greatest husband, because he supports you in all your craziness. You know,
he empowers the craziness.
He empowers the craziness and knows what you want and is 1,000% behind it. But I just want to know, So this thirst monster behavior, what I love is that you own it. Because a lot of people would be like, I don't want to be famous. I don't give a shit. I'm not a star fucker.
Oh,
And
please,
you are like,
liars.
liars.
I think that like in the digital age, people who are thirsty or who like want to be famous, it has a negative connotation, when at the end of the day, that just translates to like someone who's good at networking. It's not a bad thing to want to advance yourself, your career. And so I'm just trying to, change the stigma, change the narrative.
No, it's true. It's like
true.
if someone went to a conference, like a
Right.
law conference, and met everyone in the room, you applied that to the internet. You went after all the people you wanted to get in touch with, and you did it.
It's called networking, Lexi. You're right.
Right.
It is. And I think that's what's so impressive. I mean, everybody was just like, but then, then you have all the other people who come behind you and they're like, well, I want to do that too.
Great. The more the merrier. I would love to
It
encourage an entire generation of thirst monsters.
Now, I think you have. I think there is an entire generation of thirst monsters.
I'm so glad to hear it.
You have old thirst monsters who are my age,
medium
thirst monsters who are Lexi's age.
Thirst knows no age. You can't be too old or too young.
So wait a minute. So now, Claudia, we have your New York Times bestselling author.
Yes, ma'am.
You're at the pinnacle. What do we want to do next? I mean, is there anything? Do you want to take a break? Do you want to what are we doing? I mean, you're fucking.
No, I don't want to take a break.
You have another 50 years of work at least.
I think that like one of the things I've learned, in the last couple of years is I used to not really appreciate like the success that I had and just always want more, like next project. And I feel like that was a really unhealthy way of working. And it took me losing everything to be more grateful for stuff. So now I don't really I have goals, obviously, but I don't have like 5-year plans. Like I need to be, this by the time I'm 30. Like I don't have that. Of course I want bigger and better things, but I'm really so grateful for the business that I rebuilt from scratch up this huge fucking hill that never ended. That if in 5 years, we're still podcasting, we got Toast News Network, maybe I could write another book. Like if everything stayed the same, I'm so grateful for what I have now that I would be so happy. I would be so lucky to be where I'm at now in 5 years, So of course I want to tour more, hopefully write more. But at the end of the day, I'm so proud of myself and how far I've come. Like if this is it, God bless.
I know. Well, listen, this is a big achievement, what you've done so far. And I'm, your sisters, I love that all the family gets involved. Your sisters are involved. Jackie, Olivia has the baby now, but she still does have Margot. The whole
It's
crew.
A family affair.
It is honestly, family affair.
I don't know how people, don't work with their families. People always ask, like, how do you work with your family? I'm like, how do you not? It's just, I'm so family oriented in every way. And it's, for me, I know it's not for everyone, but for me, it's like the healthiest way of running a business. I'm not a great communicator with, people I'm not related to. So for me, it's been the best thing for my business to have it be a family affair.
I mean, Jesus, that listen, I used to work with my family. I do work with my family because Lexi's like my family. Mark seems okay. My ex-husband was very difficult. How involved is Ben with you? He has a different kid.
He's not. Like Ben is so supportive. Like you would think I'm not an easy person to be married to. Like I know some of the stuff that I do is like a little embarrassing. Like I'm loud. Like I know. And Ben never, like why I love him the most is not only does he not ever feel like embarrassed by me or like judge me for anything. If anything, it's just the opposite. He's so encouraging. He's always just encouraging me to like get back up and do more. So he's literally the best person to, like, he's who you want on your team. He's the best.
Okay. And you love your in-laws?
Have you met them?
No, I haven't met the in-laws.
Oh, I feel like you had it like a toast party or something, but
no, I didn't meet them.
They're so lovely. Like I know in-law relationships are difficult, but I've never found that because like Ben's parents are angels. They've been married for 35 years. They're the kindest people. And like, I loved them from the second I met them. And they've always been supportive of me and Ben doing, this is not a traditional life. Not every parent
not at all
wants this for their kid. And so they've always been encouraging. They're so supportive. They buy the book. They watch when I'm on TV. They send me pictures. They tell their friends, like they're ideal in-laws. And I mean that honestly.
Okay. I mean, that is the best.
You're very lucky.
You're very, very lucky because
and I know how out of the ordinary that is.
Yes, that is out of the ordinary. Though I did love my Jewish in-laws very
Right, but
much.
in-laws.
I
The
mean,
best.
they died. Mimsy and Bernie Josephs. I mean, they were, and Joe's parents were dead by the time I got to him. So,
Oh, I didn't
but
know
I mean,
that.
that happens. Yeah, he is much older, but I will be an amazing mother-in-law.
Yeah, you'll be a good mother-in-law.
I love
Yes,
my
you
son's
will.
girlfriend.
Oh my God. You're
Yes.
the dream mother-in-law. Like,
Yeah,
you're fun.
totally.
You're
I wanna
famous.
yes, I want to take you shopping. I want to embrace
Yes.
you.
And
I know
like,
my son's
imagine
annoying as fuck.
Imagine if you're like a fan of the Housewives and then you meet some guy and you find out his mom is Margaret Josephs.
I
Like,
know. I
Oh.
think, yeah, that would be fun. I mean, hopefully she would love me and not love somebody else on the show.
who couldn't love you?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's
Danielle
many people.
Staub.
Yeah. That's about it. That's okay. You're
I
just
love
so
that.
adorable. Don't you love
Did
this?
you
Thank
get the
you.
direction for the cover? You were clear what you wanted your cover to be?
Yeah, and then we'll go.
Yeah, well, at first I wasn't going to be on it. It was going to be like a cool graphic. And then, the
No.
narcissist in me is like, ladies, I got to be on the cover. So then
You
we
have
like
to
mood
be on the
boarded.
cover.
And it was very hard to get that bathtub up 6 flights of stairs in a photo studio in Manhattan. It's not an easy, this is in LA. Like, there's not just bathtub props around in every photo studio. So it actually took a few months before we could get to shoot because there was so many logistical problems with getting a bathtub up a building with no elevator.
There was no hotel you could shoot in?
No, because it was a full-blown photo studio. And, it's always in like old buildings in Brooklyn and downtown. And they don't really have big freight elevators for a bathtub.
That is so funny. We wound up shooting in my house.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So we got lucky, right?
We did. Well, it was a one way we could control it with COVID because we filmed it for the show too.
Right.
So
Oh, you did?
Yes.
People was like a lot.
Well, you know what? I saw when you announced your book, you had like the most cute ass cake. And I literally sent it to Ben. I said, contact this baker, get me a cake that Margaret had. And I got it. It was so delicious.
Yeah, Melissa Alt cakes are amazing, right? They're delicious.
I got one because I saw you have it. It was so good. I wasn't going to eat it, but then I'm like, I got to eat it. So I saved the first 2 layers of the book.
That's amazing.
And it was like chocolate Oreo. It was so good.
Yes.
She is great. Her cakes are beautiful and delicious. Yes, the girls got it for me. That was the first time I think anybody's ever surprised me. It was in a restaurant in a tent, and I walked past. It was just my team.
It nearly didn't happen. This was her the whole day. I don't want to fucking go out for dinner tonight. Joe's making me go out for dinner. I'm just gonna have sex with him.
I was like, coerce him. It would be easier to have sex so I could stay in. And he was like, no. He goes, I'm dressed. I showered. I go, you're gonna turn down sex to go out to dinner? I go, that's so not like you.
You knew something was up.
Yeah, it didn't even click to me. It's like, get dressed. You look like you just worked out. I'm like, really? I was like, where we go? I was like, that is so not like Joe.
Like, come on, Marge, get a meal in, get your sustenance and stuff before you have sex. Come on, Marge.
And they got me, and I walked right past the cake and the table with the balloons. But it's nice. It was just my immediate, I'm sure it's like you also. You socialize with a lot of people. You never, even though you're with your family, you never do something like just for you, right?
No, I actually am the queen of throwing like parties for minor accomplishments. I just love getting everyone together. Like I had a song like in 2019 I had like 15 parties. I had
I was there
song
for your
release.
party.
You were there for the song release,
release,
toast anniversary. Like I just throw parties because I love partying. I love partying.
Yes.
No, I love parties, but I'm saying just I guess because I never get to be alone with them and I'm like paying attention to everyone else. We throw a lot of parties, but I feel like I never get to be alone with just my immediate team where everyone's not like, take a picture. You know what I mean?
Right. Or like you're filming. It's a lot.
Or you're not filming or you're not in the moment where you could just really bullshit and trash talk everybody else. Annoy you. I know.
Those are very rare moments.
Yeah, and we both wrote a book. This is a big deal.
That's a major deal.
And you wrote a book. And I mean, you're a
major.
New York Times bestselling author. I mean, this is a big deal. I'm so proud. I feel like, I'm failing.
Thank you.
Look at Theo. I mean, he's so excited.
Oh, Theo was the star of the shoot. And the only reason I made the New York Times bestsellers list is because Theo was on the back.
I know. It's like Bella's on the back of mine, too. We both have our doors
Shut
on
up!
the back. Yes, isn't that funny?
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, Bella's on the back with my mother because, God forbid, Mark Sr. talk about thirst monster.
She's the original.
She's the original from fucking day one.
She is an inspiration.
Yes, 74-year-old thirst monster, without a doubt.
Yes, we love to see it.
Yes, losing her marbles. So, I mean, what's our book tour situation looking like? Are we going to be able to go out for you?
You might, but mine is bleak.
Like, can you go out this summer maybe and do some stuff?
Maybe. I'm like, now that the book is out, now we're really focusing on my next comedy tour. Hopefully I can do like maybe a little blended book tour and comedy tour. That would be great. I mean, there's just so much uncertainty and this year has been so crazy and there's been like so many wild things going on in the world that like my show is already written, like, because there's just so much to make fun of in 2020 and 2021. But it's just a matter of when I can get my ass, on a plane and go safely.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, I think with everybody getting the vaccine, I hope by the fall you could be on the way.
I think by the fall as well.
I know, which would be so good. Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah. That'll be great.
I know.
That'll be.
I gotta hit a club or something.
Yeah, you gotta hit a club and belt out a song, another song.
Yes.
I know, belt out a good one. So just let's quick talk a little bit of reality. Have you been watching?
Yes.
I mean, Salt Lake City.
Love obsessed. Heather Gay is my queen.
Heather Gay,
and so is
obviously.
Meredith.
I love Meredith because she's so relaxed.
Do you know any of them, like, personally?
Heather Gay, I've been with. We did a housewife to housewife. We've chit-chatted. We've spoken on the phone. She's amazing. I love her. I love her. She is so funny.
If you talk to her, tell her I'm obsessed.
Okay, I will tell. She is great. I think she's very, very good. Believe it or not, I get a big kick out of Crazy Mary.
Of course. I mean, she's so interesting, even though like she has not been on the season at all because she's like not friends with any of the women and she didn't go to Vegas and she like barely was in the finale, but she's so hysterical that like the little crumbs she gives us are enough.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think she wasn't going to be, it seems to me she wasn't going to be a full-time housewife right away. And then they realized she's meant for TV.
She is. I mean, her life is so interesting. And I have so many questions about how owning a church gets you 5 homes. Like, it just makes no sense.
And what about OC's over and done with?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad it's over. It was such trash. Like,
it was painful, right? It was a little painful this season.
And it was just, I can't relate to any of the women. And, it's an aspirational show. You watch the show and you see fabulous women doing fabulous things. And in OC, there was no aspirationalism. I was just like, this is a sad sack of women.
Yeah, it was a rough season. It was a rough season.
Very rough.
How did you feel about watching COVID too? Because a lot of people are complaining. It's like, we lived it.
Oh my God.
To see it. We need an escape.
Kill me. Certain franchises, they did better than others. OC was by far the most COVID heavy. And I don't know if production just doesn't understand this. Like, we had to live through it. And it was painful enough and traumatizing enough. People dealing with all sorts of issues, financial issues, addiction, divorce. Like, there's been so much terrible things that came out of being on lockdown. We're almost at the end. I don't need to see it relived on Bravo.
I know. See, I think we're lucky. We didn't have a lot of, because we filmed like in the summer.
Yeah,
we got lucky. So we were outside. P.S. I'm still coughing from my COVID from December, but I'm
I can't believe I forgot you had it.
It was
Full
terrible.
family takedown.
Full family takedown. Myself, Joe, Lexi, Marlene, Marge Sr. We just literally wiped out the whole family. It was.
But thank God that you're all
thank
okay.
God we got over it. It's just like this lingering weird post-nasal drip, and I don't know what the fuck that is, but it's annoying. I can't even handle it. But that, the whole thing is we were very lucky because we filmed in the summer. We were outside a lot. We didn't have a huge gathering, so it was good.
Right. That's great. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I think, 17.
We didn't even have to discuss it because it was just like
minimal. If we were in a store, we had to wear a mask and stuff like that. Because we're outside, it was much better. So we were very
fabulous.
Lucky. I know. I think you're gonna love the season.
I can't wait. I'm gonna blow a casket.
You're gonna blow a casket.
Okay.
I think you need a gasket. I know.
So funny.
Listen, her own language for sure.
We live for it. That's why she's hysterical.
Oh, she's the best. And now, she has her boyfriend now.
Yes, I cannot wait to see that unfold. And I'm so excited to see the renovations on your house because every Monday when you do like your house updates, it's so fascinating. You have such unique style. I cannot wait to see it.
Yes, thank you. No, it looks really good. The downstairs. Now we're starting on the upstairs because my bedroom and my closet, that we could not nail on this season and that we're doing now. but so much was done. Like I did an outdoor kitchen, I did the kitchen, I did the this,
Wow.
I did the so it looks really good. So we can,
Yeah. And also,
I want to,
you know, trolls are very bitchy. Like, you know, do your fucking house. Your house looks like shit.
Yeah.
When you turn on the light in like the entryway in a 114-year-old house,
yeah,
like the AC comes on in the basement. Like it's not as simple
Right.
as
yeah.
these people
Everyone's
think.
like, people don't get it. This is like an old, cool house. I wrote to someone today. They're like, why don't you get a different house upgrade? I'm like, bitch, I live 4 miles from the city and you cannot replace this kind of character. This is like an old, fabulous, cool, big house. I mean.
And now the insides match the outside and
exactly.
People need to shut the fuck up, okay?
I know.
Yes.
I was just like, I don't need a McMansion. I don't want what everyone else can have.
Right.
I know. People could make you crazy. Well, thank you so much for coming on again because
Thank
I just
you
had
for
to just
having
tell
me.
you. Good to see you. B, can't wait to be together. And I just want to tell you how happy we were reading this book. I swear, I felt like I birthed you.
Yes.
Failing, dying. It's so insightful. I can't believe you're only 26. I'm sure everyone tells you you're an old soul. It's so insightful. You made us laugh. You made us cry.
Yeah.
And it's so great. The crazy, beautiful life of a thirst monster. Mwah.
Mwah.
Thank
I
you
love
so
you.
much. Love you.
I mean, it's so funny. I feel like my life didn't even start until 27. And by 26, she's had it all.
Had it all.
Almost
Awesome.
lost it all and brought it back 10 times more.
I know. It's very exciting. Well, it's very impressive. And I think
It is
everybody else should be impressed because she's done a lot and she took a very public hit at a young age,
Yes.
handled it correctly, didn't let it cripple her,
No.
and brought it back.
And learned from it.
And,
Was self-reflective.
you know, was self-reflective, was apologetic.
But
be allowed to
also
make
stayed
mistakes.
true to her principles.
Yes.
Which I think is the most authentic thing. Like,
Exactly.
There's nothing worse than an inauthentic apology
Yes.
tour. Especially when they go on an apology tour. That's when it's really full of shit. But she played it out such the right way.
Yes, because she was truly apologetic. Mm-hmm. She sticks to her principles. I think everyone should read her book. Anybody who gives her a hard time about why she doesn't denounce her mother, hear from Claudia's own mouth how she feels about certain things. You guys are going to love it. So Caviar Dreamers, keep dreaming.
Keep dreaming.
You'll have to buy my book.
Yes. You're both on Simon & Schuster
we're
Gallery
both
Books.
Simon & Schuster Gallery Books. Yep, that's right.
So everyone's got to get swiping up when we put it on Instagram to buy Go with No Job and get pre-ordering the Marge's book too. You got a lot of reading to do.
A lot of reading.
We could start our own book club at this
That's
rate.
right. Okay.
So every week we have episodes on a Wednesday, Caviar Dreams, Tuna Fish Budget with The Real Margaret Joseph, The Life of Mrs. B at Caviar Dream, Tuna Fish Budget, and keep dreaming.
Keep dreaming, Caviar Dreamers.